Welcome to another edition of Mind, Body, and Spirit. I'm your host, registered dietitian Karen Kawolics. On today's program, the boomerang is making a comeback as part of a professional sport. A local athlete with the United States Boomerang team is here to fill us in. And 10,000 Villages is a Cleveland Heights retail shop with a unique business model. Every product has been created by artists living in poverty-stricken countries. Whether it's a purse, jewelry, or a home decor item, dollars spent locally can mean food, clothing, and shelter for those in need. Two members of this nonprofit organization are here to share how this business is changing lives. And green, purple, pink, or white, did you know asparagus comes in a wide variety of colors? Chef John Selick from the United Medical Center is here with some ideas on how to cook up this delicious vegetable. All that plus my health tips segment coming up next on Mind, Body, and Spirit.
It's a healthy start to a new day. It's a healthy start to a new day. It's a healthy start to a new day. It's a healthy start to a new day.
From soups to quiches to eating it raw, asparagus is one of the most versatile vegetables around. Chef John Selick from the United Medical Center joins us with some creative ideas on how to cook up this delicious vegetable. How are you doing? Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
First thing I have to ask you about is this display of asparagus here. I didn't know that it came in all these different colors.
The purple is becoming really popular now. I think everyone has seen the green asparagus is pretty standard, and white asparagus has been on the fancier menus in the past. And like I said, purple asparagus is a variety of asparagus that's becoming more and more popular. So these two are a variety, and these two are, we have the white asparagus and we also have pink asparagus, is a result of how it's cultivated. And that's by taking the green asparagus and growing it in the dark.
Really?
And you get white, yeah, so you cease photosynthesis and no chlorophyll develops and you have white asparagus. And then if you take the purple asparagus, grow it in the dark, you end up with pink asparagus.
So no light whatsoever?
No light. So in the old days, nowadays we grow in the dark. And in the old days, as it would grow, they would keep pushing dirt over it to, so it doesn't get any sunlight. Nowadays, farmers are just kind of growing in pitch dark, like tents, sort of, and just prohibit sunlight, and then you end up with a nice white asparagus or pink asparagus.
Now, is there any difference in taste between these different?
Subtle flavors. I mean, at the end of the day, it still tastes like asparagus. There's a subtle sweetness I find in like the white asparagus compared to the green. I think the green is probably your most assertive flavored asparagus. And then if you have white asparagus, it's not so grassy and kind of a little bit sweeter, maybe not as bitter as the green asparagus. And even the purple asparagus I find to be really tender. This is perfect for eating raw. It's full of antioxidants. You know about eating a rainbow in dark green vegetables and in dark purple vegetables. So the purple asparagus has more antioxidants, so it's probably the healthiest of all the asparagus. I find it to be less fibrous and a little more sweeter. So when eating raw, this is probably your number one choice to go to. And I also like to shave the asparagus, with a peeler to make a little salad. And you can squeeze a little lemon juice and just a dash of good extra virgin olive oil and maybe some sea salt. And that's a great way to eat raw asparagus. And probably one of the healthiest way to keep all the vitamins intact. Because blanched asparagus in boiling water is really good, but you sort of lose some of the nutrients in cooking.
I think I know for myself, blanching is not my best skill.
You get scared?
What's the technique? Because personally, when I'm making like a vegetable tray, I love the blanched asparagus that's blanched and chilled. It just seems to taste a little better than the raw. What is the trick to getting it that perfect crispness?
Just 30 seconds in water. Get water boiling, some salt. A good amount of salt helps the water boil even harder. And into the water in literally 30 seconds, and then in the ice water. And what you're doing is just sort of cooking off a little bit of that bitterness of the raw vegetable, which isn't my favorite either. I would prefer to grill or roast asparagus. There are people that, the raw diet is a big movement that people enjoy. It is a healthier diet. Like I said, a lot of times nutrients get lost in cooking methods, but it also generally makes the food taste better. So that's why we like to cook things. So if you're going to blanch it, boiling water, a good amount of salt in there, almost like you're cooking pasta. It should taste like the ocean, and really just like 20 to 30 seconds, just to kind of remove some of the bitterness in ice water, and it'd be nice bright green and real crispy still.
I'll have to experiment in the kitchen with that.
Now some people like really soft vegetables, and that's that's not wrong. I mean, my mom, and she's older, she likes vegetables softer, where I like them crisper. So it's really personal taste. It's not really wrong. It's just how you like it.
Now you mentioned grilling. What type of marinades work well with asparagus?
I think the best one, my go-to, is just olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And honestly, I'll grill these sometimes. If I have a hot grill, dry, I'll put them on a grill dry, let them get a nice char, and then take them off, and while they're still hot, I'll hit it with a little bit of olive oil and balsamic vinegar, and the hot asparagus sort of absorbs it. When grilling, if you have olive oil, sometimes you get those flare-ups, and it throws like an off flavor. So I'll just go on dry roast, take it off, and then hit it with the marinade at the end, let it absorb it, and then we'll finish it with some sea salt and fresh cracked pepper. Lemon juice is also really good. Very, very simple. People maybe not, they don't think it's that very fancy because it's so simple, but it's actually delicious.
It tastes amazing. And the one nice thing is, well, before you add the olive oil, the calories, I was looking up the nutrition information for a half a cup of asparagus, 20 calories.
It's nothing.
Right. It's a dieter's dream, and 1.8 grams of fiber and actually 2 grams of protein, which I was surprised. A lot of good vitamins and minerals. What's the most unique way people are using asparagus, when you're seeing in your line of work?
You know, this is my favorite thing about asparagus is it's definitely springtime. It's a very seasonal vegetable, at least when getting things locally. So to me, it's like the end of winter. You know it's not going to snow no more when you get asparagus on the menu. People are doing things like, they're shaving them real thin and using the asparagus itself as like a pasta dish. Like, especially with the low carb thing. So they'll, like I said, take a peeler and they'll shave it thin, and it'll look like fettuccine strands, and just cook it really lightly with other stuff, and they'll use that as the pasta, and and less carbs in your diet. Like you mentioned earlier, quiches and omelets. Asparagus goes great with omelets and eggs. My favorite way is grilled and roasted. Very simple. It's just my favorite way. People, when I put them on menus at Ahuja, we put in our cafeteria every now and then, they go, we can't even keep up when we have grilled asparagus.
How do they handle like the green or white? The purple or white? Do people say, what is that?
They get very excited because, like they said, I've never seen white or pink asparagus. Now the thing with purple asparagus, I don't know if you know, any purple vegetable, peppers, there's even purple okra, once you cook it, it turns green. So this will turn a dark green. So I'll often grill this one side, and one side will turn dark green, but I'll keep the purple. So it's sort of a semi-cooked, because you want to show off how beautiful it is. But people get really excited, and because they didn't realize, because this isn't available at Giant Eagle all the time.
No, it's just in season.
You have to know somebody. It's just in season.
For a couple years, for a couple months,
weeks.
not a couple weeks.
Maybe a little, almost 2 months. And you can get it year round. They import it from Peru. So you can get it year round, but the local asparagus, if you look at the local asparagus, it's just full of flavor, because when they're shipping from Peru, who knows how long it takes to get here.
Right, so it's a little bit of a distance.
It's a little bit of distance. They're probably picking it when it's really green, or when it's ripe, and by the time you get here, there's a little age to it. It's not as crisp.
Well, John, these have been some amazing tips. If our viewers would like to contact you for some more cooking tips, or stop by Ahuja and have some of your food in the cafe there, how can they reach you? What's the best way?
I'm at Ahuja Medical Center 5 days a week, sometimes 6, and I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. My name, one word. You can follow me on there and then direct message me, and I'll be happy to share any tips that I have.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back with more Mind, Body, and Spirit. Our next guest is a top athlete in an ancient sport. Logan Broadbent is one of 12 Americans who make up the United States Boomerang team. He is also a motivational speaker, encouraging others to turn their hobbies into a career, as he has done. Welcome to the program, Logan.
Thank you, Karen. Happy to be here.
I never heard of this sport before we connected. How long has it been around? How did it originate?
You know, it's funny, I get that a lot. A lot of people haven't heard of boomerangs as a sport, at least in the United States. We're so distracted with football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and everything else. But it really has been an underground sport for quite a long time. It became popular in the United States back in probably the 1960s. And the Smithsonian Institute actually helped nurture the sport. They had boomerang making sessions and throwing sessions there in D.C. And then in 1980, the United States Boomerang Association formed. And we actually held the first world championship in 1981, which was between Australia and the United States. So ever since, we've had World Championships about every 2 years. We compete all around the country throughout the year, and it's really a blast. It's something you got to see to believe.
How did you get involved with this?
You know, my dad actually was a boomerang competitor for years. He fell in love with the boomerang and became involved in the United States Boomerang Association. So I, unlike most throwers, grew up throwing and catching boomerangs. I tell people I was throwing boomerangs before I could walk. And so it's been a passion of mine, it's been a love of mine ever since I was born.
I guess you were born to do this.
Exactly, I didn't have a choice.
So let's talk about the actual boomerangs. Can you show me how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we have a lot of competition boomerangs here that you can see next to me. Most boomerangs we throw now have 3 wings instead of just the traditional 2-wing boomerang that most people think of. But I actually brought a roomerang here today to show you how to throw and catch, and I want you to try this too, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna make a fist.
Okay.
You're gonna pinch the boomerang with your thumb.
Okay.
And the boomerang's gonna be thrown straight up and down, nice and vertical. And if you throw it right, it'll curve out and around and come right back.
Okay.
Just like that. Go ahead, let's give it a shot.
I do not believe I can
Let's see
replicate
it.
this. Don't expect it to come back.
Oh, well, not bad, not bad.
Close.
Here, try this one.
Okay. You sure you want me to do this
Let's see
again?
it.
Okay, so.
Straight up and down. Nice, not bad. All right. So straight up and down, straight out, and there it is, right on your shoulder.
Now, do you foresee this as an Olympic sport?
You know, we do have ambitions of becoming an Olympic sport. We certainly have enough countries that participate around the world to make it an Olympic sport. The one thing that the Olympics requires is standardized equipment, but as boomerang throwers, we actually make most of our own boomerangs that we use in competition. So there's really nothing standardized about it. You have to be an inventor, a scientist, a craftsman in order to create great working boomerangs that you can use in competition.
Now, what does the competition involve? Is it a team sport, individual?
Good question. So there's both team and individual competitions, and each, as an individual, you compete in several different events. So there are actually 6 main events in a general tournament, and then there's also another event called distance, which is sometimes competed. But in most events, we do anything. Each event is made to do. Let me just try that again. Each event is made to do something different. It's made to test a different skill. So there's fast catch, where you're throwing and catching as quickly as possible. You have to throw and catch within a 4-meter circle, and the boomerang has to travel 20 meters. There's endurance, which is 5 minutes of fast catch. There's trick catch, where we're actually throwing 2 boomerangs at once, and we're catching behind the back, under the legs, with our feet. We do distance, maximum time aloft with composite boomerangs that are really technologically advanced and lightweight, and all sorts of different really neat events.
How does the team sport work? Is it like football or soccer? Or do you have to make a goal, or is it just your scores combined together that make the team?
Absolutely. So in most of the team competitions, we're actually throwing and catching our own boomerangs. There won't be an event where somebody throws and I catch. But in some of the events, like 30-meter relay, we actually sprint against another team into the bullseye. We throw a 30-meter boomerang, catch the boomerang, run back and tag our teammates, and they go and do the same thing. So it's a matter of quickness, it's a matter of speed. You really have to rely on your teammates to perform well in the competition. And we have all sorts of different team events that test those different skills, just like individuals.
How are you training for this? What do you have to do to train?
Well, boomerang throwing is unique and similar to baseball pitching, where you can't practice every single day where you're throwing, nonstop. It's too much wear and tear on the elbow and on the shoulder. So we do a lot of different cross training. So I tend to run, I do marathons, I do triathlons just to stay in shape, to stay healthy. And then just a little bit of weight training throughout the week. And then I get out to throw, 2-3 times a week in those long sessions, and then maybe a couple shorter sessions in between.
So you're just like any other professional athlete. You're putting in a lot of time.
Absolutely. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, but when you're doing what you love, it's not a burden at all.
Now, this is something that you're obviously very passionate about, and I wanted to ask you how it's changed your life, but it seems like it's been your life.
It has, but I can't imagine my life without boomerangs. I mean, just the fact that it has been my passport to the world. It's allowed me to go to places like Australia, Japan, France, Germany, Brazil. I've gotten to go all over and meet people from all different walks of life. Within our sport, we have doctors, lawyers, carpenters, electricians, business people, bankers, just all sorts of different backgrounds and experiences. And we all share this one thing in common. So it's really something special to go to the World Championships, to see your friends from these different countries, and to share the sport and the spirit of competition.
Do you have any words of wisdom for one of our viewers out there who might be passionate about something else that's a bit unique about
Absolutely.
following your passion?
Yeah, when I think about health, when I think about happiness and wellness, I think about just taking what you love to do, finding your passion, and using that as motivation to be healthy and to better yourself. I think boomerangs has been that for me. It's something that I can do by myself, I can do with friends. It's something that I don't think about the exercise and the effort that I'm putting into it when I'm enjoying it as much as I am. And so whatever that happens to be, if it's walking your dog, if it's hiking, if it's tennis or anything else, just go do it and have fun. Have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. You got to have a good time in the meantime, and just find what it is you love to do and make it your passion.
How can people reach you if they want more information on this sport?
So if anybody wants to learn more about boomerangs, about the United States Boomerang Association, I would encourage them, they can email me at logan@usba.org, or they can check out theusba.org. They can check us out on Facebook at the United States Boomerang Team or the United States Boomerang Association, also on Facebook.
Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely.
This has been so fun.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for having me in.
We'll be right back with more Mind, Body, and Spirit. Dollars spent locally can mean food, education, and health care for many living in developing countries. The retail store 10,000 Villages imports and sells fair trade products made by artists living in underdeveloped nations. Laura Potter-Sadowski, Executive Director, and Jill Hlavaty, board member and volunteer from this nonprofit group, are here to tell us more about this wonderful business. Welcome to the program, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is a very unique business idea. Laura, how did this get started?
It is very unique. We actually are the world's largest fair trade organization, and it all started in 1946 when a woman named Edna Ruth Byler went on a mission trip with the Mennonite Central Committee to Puerto Rico. So she was there and she fell in love with the women's embroidery and handicrafts and really thought that it would sell well in the United States. So she brought back a handful of items and literally sold it out of the trunk of her car. And if you fast forward 70 years later, we now have 80 nonprofit retail locations. We're in 36 developing countries, and we support 20,000 artisans with long-term sustainable incomes.
Now, you sell products that are called fair trade. Can you explain that to our viewers?
Sure. So fair trade is a social movement that works with artisans in developing countries to ensure that they're paid a fair wage and have proper working conditions and fair treatment. At 10,000 Villages, we pay our artisans what's called a living wage. So not only do we pay them for the cost of goods and the time that they've spent in making each item, but it also takes into account health care and food and housing and making sure that their children are at school and not working.
Let's talk about the fun stuff here and some of the products. Can you tell us about some of these, where they came from and a little background?
So this is just a small sampling of what we have in our store. We have plenty of home decor items. So this pillow here is all handmade. It's done in Kenya. We have this really gorgeous basket here, which is one of our favorite items. This is a great example of upcycling. So what this is a traditional Kaiza grass basket from Bangladesh, and they wrap it with the sari fabric. So what women wear in Bangladesh, once it's worn and tattered, they'll use it to create other things. So they've wrapped the basket in it. We also have our favorite things, coffee, tea, and chocolate. We get those from Divine, which is a fair trade organization, along with Equal Exchange, another fair trade organization that carries fair trade food. So we really couldn't exist without their chocolate and coffee to keep us going.
Absolutely.
And then we have this gorgeous Kisi stone sculpture. So that's a traditional soapstone, but Kisi is the region where it's from in Kenya. And what's great about that is that's a group that we've been working with for a very long time, and it's grown from about 20 artisans working to now over 200 in that village that are working on those sculptures, both men and women.
And we have some jewelry here.
Yeah, jewelry is one of our favorite selections. We have the necklace here that's done in the Philippines that is recycled newspaper. So a lot of our artisans want to make sure that they are environmentally friendly and using the resources that they really have. So the newspaper that's found, we have pop can items in the store, lots of upcycling. I think the best example is the earrings that I brought. They are from Cambodia, and they are actually the brass from bombshell casings. So the women will go through the area and collect the metals, and then they melt it down and create new things. So it's really making a positive impact from a really negative kind of ugly situation.
There's a lot of stories behind these.
Definitely. So every item that we carry has a story to it. We know the artisan group that made it, we know the impact that it has in its community and in its village, and really who we are supporting when we sell our fair trade goods.
And speaking of impact, Jill,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about some of the artisans? How does the money they receive, how does it change their lives?
It really makes an impact for them. For example, we have cards that are made by Sanctuary Spring, made by women in the Philippines, and it provides them a way to earn an income in their area, in their region. And for a lot of the artisans, it provides them a means to make money for themselves, for their families, for their villages, provides money for education, for health care, for food. So it really does impact them, and it also allows them to use the resources in their area, as Laura had mentioned as well.
How did you get involved with this group?
So I got involved, I went to one of our events that we had in the summertime, and got to know a little bit more about the store and the items that were made, and really thought that they were unique pieces of artwork. And I love the stories behind it. The thing that's really neat is that you can go in the store, if you purchase something, you can buy it. If you want to get the story behind, you get on all the tags on the products will tell you what country it's from. So it gives you can also get a story behind it, and gives you a little bit more of a connection to the artisan. They are truly unique gifts. So from that, I started volunteering in the store. I started doing a lot of the sales off-sites also, which has been a lot of fun. It's great to reach out to the community. So I've really enjoyed it, and I really believe in the purpose behind it.
How has it changed your lives from working with this type of group and doing something that is such a worthy cause?
For me, I mean, it just gives me purpose in going to work every day. You know, I don't work for just myself. I get to make a difference in both the Cleveland community along with the international community. So it's not just making, a living for myself, but I'm also ensuring that women in India are providing for their families if that's the only means for them. And same thing in Kenya and all of these really underdeveloped areas that need the support more than we do and more than I do. And so it gives meaning and purpose, and I really enjoy going to work every day.
What about you, Jill? How's it changed your life?
It really has. It's been very impactful. It's allowed me to be in touch globally as well. For me, I believe in the empowering women. Certainly it empowers many, many artisans throughout the world. And providing these people in their, again, I guess it's that they could stay within their community, using the resources, their creativity, and they can make something from that, and also be able to distribute it in North America and provide us as communities the opportunity to have these items, to be able to purchase them and to help them out. So it's made a big difference. It really has. And I go back to reading just some of the basic stories that were on the back of the cards. Again, going back to Sanctuary Spring, the stories behind the women that made the cards was very impactful for me because you could relate to them, and it just made a difference. Knowing that it makes a difference, and it makes a difference in your life also. You're buying something that is a little bit more unique, but there's a purpose behind it. So.
How can people reach your store if they'd like more information or want to come to one of your fundraisers? I know you have one coming up in July and September.
We have Hot Jazz in the Village is in July at Nighttown, so I encourage people. We will be selling tickets on Eventbrite to come to that. It's food and great music. We have raffles promoting, of course, the mission, 10,000 Villages. And then in September, we have a rug event at the Alcazar in Cleveland Heights. And that provides over 300 rugs that are made in Pakistan. And they're fairly traded, and they're really made to last a lifetime, and they're quite beautiful. So we encourage people. It's another way to come out, to be able to see what we represent. And certainly, please come to the store.
In Cleveland Heights. And you're on
Cedar
Facebook.
Hill.
You Google 10,000 Villages, Cleveland Heights, and
Facebook.
it pops right up.
Right.
Thank you so much, ladies. This has been
Thank you
wonderful.
so much
Thank you
for the
so much for
opportunity.
having us.
We'll be right back with more Mind, Body, and Spirit. Welcome back. In today's health tips segment, I thought I would talk about the importance of knowing and understanding your blood pressure. I work in corporate wellness full time, so blood pressure screenings are something that I do on a regular basis. And one of the common reactions I hear from employees if they get a reading that is maybe higher than normal or higher than their doctor's office is the equipment working properly? Can I get it checked again? And one thing to be aware of is that your blood pressure fluctuates all day, and that's based on what you're doing and how you're emotionally feeling. Optimal numbers are 120 millimeters of mercury for systolic blood pressure, that's the top number, and less than 80 millimeters of mercury for diastolic pressure, that's the bottom number when you get a reading done. However, if you have one higher than normal reading, that doesn't necessarily mean you have high blood pressure. You want to look at your averages over time. Now, that being said, if you end up in the danger zone, which is known as a hypertensive crisis, that's 180 systolic and or 110 diastolic, you do want to go to the emergency room right away, because left untreated you could have a stroke, a heart attack, kidney failure, eye damage, or even death. So if you're in that danger zone, head to the emergency room. So what is blood pressure? I think it's important to understand that. It's the measure of the force of blood against your artery walls. So when your heart contracts, it needs to send blood throughout your body. And when it's contracting and sending blood throughout your body via your arteries, the arteries open wide, and that's your systolic blood pressure. When your heart relaxes between heartbeats, that's the diastolic blood pressure, so your arteries shrink down a bit. Now, there are a few things that can cause your blood pressure to increase. One that we know is a major factor is sodium in the diet. And it's not really added sodium, it comes from processed foods. According to the Center for Disease Control, about 75% of the American diet is made up of processed food, and that's where the hidden sodium is. The number one place, actually, a lot of people don't realize this, it's not chips, that's later on down the list, it actually is breads. Deli meats is a close second. Cheeses, soups, any packaged items have more sodium than we should have per day. People who are at high risk should have about 1,500 milligrams per day. And those who are not in the high risk category, you want to have no more than 2,300 milligrams per day. And some packaged foods, 1 or 2 servings, hits that number. So you definitely want to watch out about that. The other things that you can look at are if you smoke, stop smoking. That's a risk factor. If you're overweight, you might want to reduce your weight, because as you reduce your weight, your blood pressure will go down. Exercising, eating a healthy diet, and that all helps with maintaining blood pressure over time. How often should you get checked? Well, if you have normal blood pressure, it's about once every 2 years. If you're in the hypertensive range, which is 120 to 139 systolic and or 80 to 89 diastolic, you're going to get it checked at least every year. And if you're in the high range, above 140 over 90, you want to talk to your doctor, because they're going to put you on a program to lower that number down. But you can buy your own home blood pressure monitor and check yourself. Check in the morning when you get up, check after eating, check after exercise, so you can kind of get an average of where you are at. Well, that's it from this episode of Mind, Body, and Spirit. I'm Karen Kawolics, reminding you to eat more whole food, keep moving, and stay positive. We will see you next time.